Allow recording, all yours.
All right.
Um, hey folks, coming in, I was sharing with those on the call that I'm Lely. I am the Research and Policy Analyst for School Board member Luisa Santos, and I'm excited to hear more about you all and take in all this information and brief the board member on all of this and continue the conversation.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm screen sharing our presentation now. Let me know if you can see it. Um, Robert and Peter just joined, so if you guys can give a quick introduction, please.
Yes, of course. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Peter Prieto, and for this project, I was mostly in charge of alternate policies or multiple solutions to work around the problem that we're facing.
Good afternoon. My name is Roberto Abad, and for this project, I was in charge of just finding the problem that we wanted to dial down on in our community.
And good afternoon. My name is Jabraj, and I was tasked with formulating a policy for this project.
And
Awesome.
I already introduced myself, but I forgot to mention, I'm working on the action plan, which is the part where we contact nonprofits, members of our community, legislators, and we try to kind of gain the public support of our policy. So that's who we are, and we are reading to learn. So this is our team. So starting off with our problem, pretty much what we identified is that there's been a pretty stark decrease in the literacy rates in Miami-Dade County Public Schools, especially with the early elementary years. The statistics we found here, analyzing the FAST test scores for the past 5 years, we found that there was about a 10% dip in the amount of students that were passing the test. And at that time, at the same time, there was a 10% increase in the amount of students that are failing. So last year, about 50% of third grade students failed the English language arts FAST, which to us is incredibly concerning because as the research we did showed, we met with a variety of teachers at our school and other elementary schools, and we looked at some research articles, and pretty much what a lot of them stated is that third grade is kind of a pivotal year for learning because from pre-K to second grade, what students are doing is learning to read. They're learning the phonics, they're learning how to read and how these words are constructed. But third grade is the year that marks the shift where we go from learning to read to reading to learn, which is what inspired our name. And pretty much the curriculum shifts to allow for more synthesis and more analysis of text. So this is a year that a lot of students struggle with, and we could see that reflected in the scores on these tests. And from the research that we found, here's the bar graph. This is an article called Double Jeopardy.
Sorry, let me quickly hop in. Would you mind hitting the present button so I could
Oh
see
yeah,
this bigger?
sorry about that.
No, you're more than fine.
Okay, here we go. So this is an article called Double Jeopardy by Donald J. Hernandez, and pretty much what it found, it was an analysis of these test scores. It was a longitudinal study, and it found that children that aren't reading proficiently by third grade, 16% of them won't graduate high school on time. And this is even worse for students that are below the poverty line, as they have almost a three times, that statistic is three times more likely for them to fail or drop out of high school if they're not reading proficiently. So this doesn't really just have an impact on their third grade testing. It's something that follows them throughout all of high school and in their professional careers as well. So we believe it's very important to kind of tackle this early on and to foster and promote literacy at the younger ages so that we can ensure their success. So here's a few articles that we used for our research. Here's some emails that we did with teachers and other community members to try and see their perspective on the issue. And here we have a survey on the problem, and Robert will hop in on this one to explain his findings to the survey.
So in this survey, pretty much what we asked was, we went out to our community and we wanted to see how they saw this issue and if they really believed it was an issue. So we asked participants whether, first of all, if they thought this was an issue, and I don't remember the exact number, but I do remember it was around 70% that people agreed with us, believing that it was an issue. And then people were also asked if they believed, if they have seen this issue themselves firsthand, Most people also had seen this issue firsthand, which was then linked to our next question on how serious and how quick a solution is needed for this issue, where around 93%, I believe, agreed with us that that this issue needs a quick solution. And that is then from there we moved on to working on our alternative policies and policies to try and solve this issue in mind.
Okay, so our next slide is our teacher interviews. We met with Dr. Gutierrez, who is the English department head at our school. She also worked on research at FIU for a summer intervention program, which is one of our alternative policies. We also met with Ms. Fragoso, who's a new teacher at our school, but before moving to our school, she was a kindergarten English teacher. And what she explained to us was the dip that she noticed right after the pandemic, especially with schools like hers that had a very high immigrant population and a very high poverty rate. She didn't work at this exact school, but we have this school as an example. It's Mandarin Lakes K-8 Academy, and it's kind of this example of the poverty rate and how it affects the literacy rates. It has a 92% poverty rate, and over 79% of the students failed the FAST last year. So this is an issue that is targeting not only the entire county, but especially these marginalized, low poverty communities. And from Ms. Fragoso, we learned exactly how the lack of resources in some of these schools and the lack of literacy initiatives is what led the students to struggle and to a lot of times fail these English assessments. Then we met with Miss Ergel, who's a pre-K / Head Start teacher at Pineville Elementary. This is another school that falls a little bit below the poverty line. A lot of its students aren't exactly affluent. And what she explained is that for the Head Start program to apply to the student, that they need to fall 200% below the poverty line, so that these programs, while effective, weren't exactly accessible to a lot of families that needed it. And she also explained how an intervention program would work for these students to sort of foster their literacy rates early on if they noticed that they're struggling. We also met with Danielle Barreras, who is the Associate Director of Community Engagement for the Children's Trust, and she's also the leader of the Florida Grade Level Reading Campaign for the Children's Trust. And she told us about her research, especially with dyslexia, which leads to one of our alternative policies. She's a very big advocate for dyslexia screenings and dyslexia identification early on, as she thought this is one of the root causes of this decline in literacy. So I'll have Peter talk about a few of our alternative policies before Javraj moves on to our actual policy. So.
All right, so one of our policies is, like Enzo previously said, is the dyslexia screenings, particularly in the grades early on. So it would be kinder through second grade, which these screenings will be taking place. And Danielle Barreras gave us a lot of information and data, especially from the state of Texas, which already has this in action, in which the government funds these screenings for the students. And if they are deemed dyslexic or on the spectrum of dyslexia, they are given the proper education that they need, which will in turn obviously help their test scores and them later on in life. However, this does take in more tax money, tax dollars, and as well, it only targets dyslexia, which while it is a big issue, there's many other learning disabilities such as ADHD, ADD, and autism, which this again doesn't really help with. We have three possible solutions. Our second one is mandatory retention, in which again we do have this in the county. However, there's no way to override it. If a student is deemed, if their test score is deemed not that they're not going to succeed in the next grade level, they're held back a year, in which they will go over the foundations, go over the skills that they haven't learned or weren't taught properly, and so which will give them a much bigger chance to succeed in their future and in the next period. However, with this, there is a stigma that if you're being held back, you are deemed as dumb, and students oftentimes feel unmotivated, honestly, and they really compare themselves to other students who are now younger than them in the same class. So while it does have its benefits, it does also have its downfall or downsides. And lastly is an intervention over the summer. This one's very similar to our policy that Jivraj will explain, but this is a intervention in which teachers help go over certain students or students that haven't met the level over the summer. As we all know, the summer there's a big dip in which you lose a lot what you learned in the last year. I can say this from a first-hand account, to be honest, but these teachers will help the students retouch their certain skills that they haven't met and honestly go over go over skills that again they haven't understood well, and this will obviously higher the chances of them passing and succeeding in the next few grade levels.
So now on to the policy which we want to bring forward. What we would want to do is to employ juniors and seniors in high school and collaborate with the summer youth internship program, which pays high school students about $10 an hour. What we would want to do is find these juniors and seniors who have mastered the new best standards in Florida, which were implemented by the governor recently. And what these juniors and seniors would do would serve as peer tutors to these students who are falling behind and work with these students after school. And what we would want to do is get the teachers to screen these students prior to the school year, as Peter mentioned as one of our alternative policies, is to get a grasp of where their foundation is at and what skills they are proficient in and what skills they are not. And then prior to the school year beginning or in the summer, we would want to implement a training program for these high school students to understand what their teaching capabilities are and how to guide these students in the correct direction to teach them appropriately. And what we want to do to find the best fit for these students is to check these students' resumes and course load to make sure that they're not overburdened by something like this, which we know this is a tall task to ask for. And we need to make sure that the students who are going to be tutoring these young kids need to be more than capable of this task, and we need to make sure that their course load is not too heavy. The advantages of this policy is that, as my colleague Peter mentioned, that many students feel a drop in self-esteem if they do not pass these statewide tests. With these peer tutoring program, these students are learning from elder students who have already passed this curriculum and have done things like this. So they feel a sense of camaraderie learning from older students rather than teachers who are just pressuring them to learn these skills. Through this, they can build trust and friendships with older students who can guide them to learn bigger and better things as mentors. The only downside to this is that these high school students are devoting a lot of their time to this mission. However, at the end of this comes a huge, huge benefit that these students are doing something incredible for their community, which will leave a generational impact. This will be a great mark on their resumes and an incredible, incredible thing to do for the posterity.
And we actually met with a researcher at FIU that worked on this peer tutoring program. Her name was Lazara Garcia, and we have a case study example here of how it would work. Let me see if I could bring it out. Okay, here we go. So here are her findings. She did it with an elementary student. This is the description of the student. It was a 6-year-old student who had immigrated to the United States and was struggling with English and language arts. So we have examples of case study in our portfolio if you'd like us to send it through email. Here are the assessments that were conducted. It was an inventory of experiences, then a literacy assessment, an interview with the student, a spelling inventory, a reading attitude survey to see how the student felt about reading and what her opinions were on it, a phonics assessment, and a writing sample. So here's a comparison of her scores before the peer tutoring program and after. Before the program, she could only recognize 21 out of 26 words, letters in the alphabet. And this was a 12-day case study. And by the end of it, she found that she could recognize 26 out of 26 letters in the alphabet. And then for lowercase recognition of the alphabet letters, she could only recognize 22 out of 28. And then by the end of it, she mastered it with 28 out of 28. Next, she was tested for auditory discrimination of words. And before, she failed pretty much half of it with a 6 out of 12. And then afterwards, she was pretty much passing with flying colors with 11 out of 12. And then with phonemes, before she, again, wasn't really mastering it. She was doing pretty well with them. with an 8 out of 11, but by the end of this 12-day case study, she had mastered it with 10 out of 11. So this was the focus of this researcher's literacy intervention, which was vocabulary, ending sounds, long vowels, short vowels, comprehension, fluency, and oral language development. Now, these are all the foundational skills for learning how to read. So if we could master these skills in the first few years of school, kindergarten and second grade, by third grade, we believe that students will not struggle as much on the best standards and that they'll be able to pass the assessment and actually master the literacy skills by third grade. So that concludes our policy. For our action plan, we actually have an event planned with the Miami-Dade Lakes, the Meadow Branch Library for this Wednesday. We're hosting a parent engagement night where we're kind of presenting our mission, and we're giving the parents resources as to what they can do to promote and foster literacy in their own homes. Because what we've noticed is that a lot of this does come from school, but parents play an instrumental role in students' attitudes and perception of reading and language arts. So we believe that parents also play a huge role, which is why we're hosting this parent engagement night. So that is pretty much our presentation. If you could please let us know your opinions, your thoughts, we would love to hear your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, great job, everyone on this call. Great work. I don't know, I feel like you've been probably working on this all year, so I just wanted to say amazing, phenomenal job. I guess something I forgot to share is that I am actually a PhD candidate at the University of Florida. Go Gators. If anybody's not a Gator fan, go Gators still. So I'm a PhD candidate there, and I'm in the leadership and policy program. So I'm a researcher. So all these numbers are just like exactly, what I wanted to hear. They're not great numbers, right? But I just wanted to commend you on your research, your writing, your presentation. Just wanted to make sure that you all knew, like, that's phenomenal. Yeah, I have a few points to help you all like really expand this and help you cement your space like within MDCPS. The first one is I'm assuming maybe you're reaching out to all board members, or correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, we sent an
What's your
email to every
plan?
board member. So far you guys are the only ones to respond, so thank you for that. We've been sending
Of course.
follow-up, but we haven't really gotten a lot of responses.
Mhm.
One of my friends is actually working on a civic literacy initiative, and she's very close with Monica Colucci, which is the board member for our district.
That was my follow-up. I was gonna ask who your board member was.
Yeah. And she told us that she would talk to Colucci because she was meeting with her recently. And we haven't gotten any updates on that, but hopefully we'll keep on reaching out. Hopefully more people start responding, because really what we want to do is just spread this as much as we can, and see what the school board thinks about it and what we could fix, what we can improve.
Yeah. From our end, we're always here to help students and support students. So I'll definitely be briefing board member Santos on all your findings. And you mentioned if you want to send me the portfolio, send me everything you have.
Okay.
We are a research heavy office. Send us all you got. We'll dig into it and it'll just help us,
Okay, I'll be sending you an email
re-engage.
with all the stuff that we
Yeah, feel free to just keep it on that thread and I'll make sure to follow up. Just
Okay.
keep it on that thread. But I wanted to share maybe a couple points that I don't know if you all have thought about it, but really thinking and bringing this rooted in MDCPS, right? Have you all checked out our strategic plan?
No.
Okay, so let me quickly pull that up for you all. So our strategic plan, it's our 5-year plan, and basically that's the goal. We have goals, we have metrics, policies, all found in here about what we want to see and how we hold ourselves accountable, like as a district at large. And I believe you're gonna find some things on reading in there. You need to, do your deep dive, check that out, because coming from it, like, not only do you want to present this to the board, but thinking how you talk to legislators and really situating yourself like, I am the knower of all this, like I am the keeper of this knowledge. This is how it aligns to our strategic plan and how we measure, because the way board members pass items and present items is all based on our plans. I don't know if you all have ever seen an item, but you'll see that there's like link to strat plan. So everything has to link to our strategic plan, right? Of course, literacy falls into that, but we need to really dig, like, what is it that we're addressing? What's our goal? For example, earlier last year, one of board member Santos's goal was to reduce waste in our district. And it's part of our strategic plan to reduce our waste, our consumption, because we found the study with and we just released a lot of metric and carbon footprint out there. So we passed an item to really talk more about share tablings and that whole idea, but that's linked to the strategic plan. You guys get where I'm coming at it? Just to share a little bit of that policy insight and how to strengthen this. I think if you all dig a little bit into our strat plan and maybe link it, I don't know how far reaching your project is or how deep it has to go, but I think it'd be such a great like tool to have if you're speaking with more board members, just to support you in that. And it also allows us to be like, to connect it, right? Because that's how we create our items. That's how we look at policy. That's how we look at the government within the board. What are we linking to? What's it addressing in our strategic plan that was created? So that would be a great area, I think, for you all to explore. What else did I have? SEIP. Have any of you done SEIP?
Yeah, Peter and I did the internship program this summer.
Oh, how was that?
It was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I worked at an office job. I learned a lot about accounting, which is something I'm interested in. So actually, like, I genuinely did enjoy it. So yeah.
Yeah, I worked at a law firm. It was a family law firm. It was a great experience.
That's so great. Yeah, we have in the office, we have SEIP and we have AIP, the all year one too. And it's so phenomenal. So totally encourage you all. I think apps are opening soon, I'm not mistaken, or something like that.
Yeah.
They should be. Yeah.
Love that. I loved your thinking of like, because another pushback is like, where are you gonna get the money? At least that's what I was assuming. You're thinking of the money to fund this. So your brain with the strategy of connecting that, I like that idea. I would encourage you all to also look at, you mentioned this being in the summer, or if I'm not mistaken, trying to be summer.
Well, I think
I know we mentioned summer learning loss.
Yeah, that was one of our alternative policies.
Alternative policies.
Screenings, I think, would happen in the summer, after the test scores have been released. But this would be like an all-year like benchmark thing until the fast test.
Yeah, you could always like think about this like within your own district, like launching like pilot study it, encourage the district to pilot study it, see how that goes to bring it grander. I'm like looking at some of the notes I took down to share you all with some of my thoughts. But yeah, I think it'd also be beneficial thinking strategically too. If you all, I'm gonna put this website here, but you could also just largely just Google it. I think that'll be great. Look what board members have presented and passed on literacy in the past. I know there's been a lot of talk about curriculum, reading curriculum, and reinventing that within our district and items that have been up on the dais. So I would encourage you all too. The more you know, the better equipped you are, for maybe folks that might push back and ask for more, of like, hey, we saw this item pass. This would be such a great supplement, such a good way to think. Like, this is already in our docket. This is already conversations we've had. So again, the researcher, strategist, policy in me is just like, how can we make this like better, stronger, for you all to continue this? If there's like the long term, like this is giving a great Silver Night project too, just putting that out there, from someone who went to MDCPS too. So those are some of my things. Any other questions you all had in particular? I think this is great. Before I talked to you all, I had done some research on Project Citizen and about some of your work. And I was like, oh, I hope they like checked out the Florida DOE website. And that's exactly what you did. You brought out numbers. You showed us the alligator, which is housed out of Gainesville, the news outlet. I believe it's housed out of Gainesville. I drive past that office, so I think it's here. So yeah, because I was about to be like, let me make sure they're looking at that FLDOE website. And you all did. I was like, all right, proven wrong. I love being proven wrong. So you're fact checked, and that's very important. And there should be so much more data coming out soon, with like best passing and all that. And who knows what's going to come out next year. So you'll be busy if this is a long-term project.
At least in our school, from what we talked about with the English teachers, and this is like middle and high school, between PM1 and PM2, like the scores are pretty concerning for a lot of the teachers. So it seems like it's a pretty challenging trend going on. But hopefully what we're working on can help to solve even a small part of it and improve it. So thank you so much.
One thing we were looking for was more of the lawmakers' perspective, because of course we are students. We really don't know what it takes to really pass a bill and all the work behind it. So it was really helpful for you to include that for us, like the strategic plan. That was really helpful. I mean, and if anything else from a policymaker's perspective, that would be amazing.
Yeah. No, I think having those numbers is always to certify you, because when you're writing an item, right? So looking at, you're speaking with a board member right now, for example, like with Luisa, we are come from this from a very government perspective. Like, we are not administrative, right? So board member Santos can't just say, SEP is going to do this. No, right? Like, we need to explore the feasibility, and we need to direct, for example, I would say ARDA, assessment research and data analysis team, which then maybe that's another person you all should contact. Here's the website. His name is Omar Rios. You'll see it on this website, and he's our director of our research. Maybe he is someone too that you can present some of this idea to and say, hey, maybe this is something for you all to think about when it comes to research or when it comes to assessments, because they handle that too. So really, from a board perspective, like an item in this area would definitely be like, explore the feasibility of integrating more peer supports, which I think if you look, I would really encourage you all to explore some of the board items that exist. I think some of this conversation was had in the last 2 years, particularly supporting lower level students. So definitely check that out. Don't quote me on it, but I do believe like this conversation has been in the works. Not to say that it's in alignment or not in disalignment with what you're doing. If anything, I feel like this could be such a great like supplement to that. But like you mentioned, it's all about like the lawmaker perspective and how this actually works. And I'm giving you like, right, like that behind the scenes scenario where, right, what's the strategic plan? What are our goals? What are our metrics? What's happening within each district sector, like things like that, to really consider what an item is. So you're definitely starting that process, right? It's just a matter of keep on creating it. And I also mentioned like the money piece, the funding, how you're going to fund this. I know you're already thinking strategically of like, hey, SEP already exists, right? It's a matter of how we look at SEP. But then remember that with SEP, you need to have, I believe, like your mentor, you need to have the housing facility. So if you're doing this across schools, who's in charge of that? How is that person then held accountable, right? So it's like little layers to think of. So really I encourage you to like go down a rabbit hole in these board docs. I know sometimes that sounds silly, but it's the best way, to like get answers. Just really explore. You never know who you talk to who can give you more insight on that. But I think starting off with that and just getting more information and situating could help the doors, and really check out what board members have to say. And the other piece, don't be afraid to follow up with them. Feel free to call our numbers. I think that's all public data online. So you can make the time, and hopefully like someone will pick up the phone and you can chat with them. And I would also encourage you maybe look wider across the district. Like I mentioned, Omar is at the ARDA, just to see if that's any connection. Check out our reading and literacy sector. Maybe they're another piece of information, like dayschool.net. Check out our different programs. This could even be something with like CAP advisors too, like thinking broadly, like who are people that we can pitch this and bring this to? Because sometimes funding is such a tricky piece of the pie, right? And if you're gonna fund this, what are you taking away from? So, but I think that SEP it's very interesting. Also check out Summer 305, giving you more ideas. Summer 305. I don't know if we do anything with literacy, but that's our summer events that happen in the summer, but it's like an opt-in thing. But that could be something that SEP connected to Summer 305. They're your tutors. Food for thought with Summer 305. It is elective. It's not that students are streamlined. And it's not for all electives. So I would like check it out. Because when you mentioned summer learning loss, I was like, Summer 305. Maybe they can check that out and see. Those are some ideas and some things. So, next steps on my end, I'll make sure to brief board member Santos about all of this. It's always good to be in the know with everything that's going on. And anything else you all need, you feel free to reach out to District 9. Our email, the same way you found us, same way we'll stay in contact. But any other questions? I feel like I've just rambled on.
I don't think I have any more questions. I just want to say thank you for everything. Like it's been a lot of help to hear from the policymaking perspective, because right now we've kind of been grounded and our perspective. So it was nice to hear what your thoughts on it were and about like all the different intricacies of it and how it would work with the county. So thank you.
Oh, of course, of course. And again, such a lovely time hearing you all. And again, I commend you for the work that you've done and continue to do. Like, keep it going. I know junior year is not going to be easy, but stay strong and keep it going.
We will. Do you mind if I take a quick screenshot to post it on our Instagram for this meeting?
Yeah. Should I smile?
Yeah, whatever pose you want to do.
Cheese.
Right.
Yay.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, make sure to tag us and we'll be happy to repost it too. That gets some more footwork. Yeah. All right, folks, stay in contact. Anything that we can do, just know D9, you can go ahead and email us and let us know how it goes. I wish you the best of luck. Don't be afraid to follow up with people.
All right.
Thank
Of
you.
course.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a great
Here,
day.
y'all.
I'll send you an email with all of our portfolio stuff.
Everything, please share it with me so we could have it.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day.